revolution of job creation is going to start. It's going to be with the youth. And that's why we started Entrepreneur Leaders School, mainly for the youth. And what we've seen, the businesses that they're starting are mind-blowing. Job creation can happen. Africa can become a wealthy country when the youth decided to realize their potential and actually get and become entrepreneurs.
Good day, Tribe family. Welcome back to another one of our Amplify sessions, our Tribe Conversations, and we are spending time with Erouane.
You are who you are, whether you fail or whether you succeed. That's why
Yes.
the anchor of your identity needs to remain constant, whether you have or whether you don't have.
You went from chasing success, more money, more things,
Yes, I did.
to a place where you are now chasing significance.
Yeah. I have to say this. Success will not always lead to significance, but significance more than often will lead to success. And one of the things that I've learned is to be significant. So I'll take an example. When throughout all the failures, by the way, I ended up publishing a book called Start Up the Leadership, where that talks about all these failures and how I got back on my feet and started Entrepreneur Leaders House and the school and all of these things. But when I published my book, someone came to me and said, your book is I've sold probably 150 copies since I published it in 2018. And people told me, oh, your book is a failure. I said, no, it's not a failure. And I'll tell you why it wasn't. Because, yes, it didn't sell billions of copies, but in Gabon, entrepreneurship is not a reality where I come from. And so I was one of the first, if not the first person to ever publish a book about entrepreneurship based on facts.
Yeah.
I actually started something and you can see evidence. And so when I went to Gabon, the book started buzzing. I was on a newspaper and then I ended up meeting the highest officials of my country and the wealthiest men in my country. And then I sat down with the presidential family to discuss. When I sat down with them, they said, we heard about your book. And one of the things we're considering is that the country has been reliant on oil and petrol, but realizing that the price of the barrel of oil is going lower. So in the future, the country won't be able to exist with just oil and petrol. We need to consider alternative. Entrepreneurship is one of the ways to boost the economy. And you wrote a book about it. We want to consider, you said for youth, how do we implement something like this knowledge in schools? I never thought that I would be sitting down with one of the highest authorities in my country to talk about entrepreneurship in the schools. And we sat down and we had this conversation about how to implement entrepreneurship in schools. And it was incredible. And as much as it didn't sell 150 copies, that book got me the right ears. And it took my country on this journey. And I'm saying my country humbly, on this journey of considering entrepreneurship into the school. So it's still a conversation that is happening. The book is being translated into French to go there now. It's not about, I didn't make the millions. In fact, an organization approached me to say they want 2,000 copies of my book. But when I did research about who they are, they were not an ethical company. And I wasn't sure where that money was coming from. So I turned down 2,000 copies or 3,000 copies of my book because I didn't want to be mixed with the name attached to that organization. Yeah. And as a result, I only sold 150 copies, but everybody in that organization is in jail now.
What?
And I'm lucky that I was not part of what they were doing. But the reality is that entrepreneurship is being spoken of in the schools at the moment because of that book. And so that didn't make me rich, no, but they did have an impact. Yes, it did. And that's what I want to chase after, significance over success.
Yeah. Would you rather have more people at your wedding or more people at your funeral? Because having more people at your funeral speaks of
the impact
that you've had.
Yeah.
And impact can sometimes translate into legacy.
Yes. And I think that's so key because we all want to leave a legacy to our children.
Yes.
And I would like to think that the impact that you're having right now, will be more important for your children than the buildings that you're leaving behind.
Yes.
Because having a good name and having a good reputation that has been left by your family. I mean, look at the Mandelas. They are set for life. Yeah. You don't need to know what they do. If you have a Mandela in the room, you open the door for them. Yeah. And that door, many doors will be open for them because of the legacy that their father or grandfather led them with, the impact that he had. Not the success. He didn't die as a wealthy man. Yes. He died as an impactful man. And today's children live off that impact. Yeah. A lot of the youth, people don't believe in the youth. I need to say this. A lot of people don't believe in the youth. There's a lot of advertisement about the youth is the future and all of that. But practically speaking, you stand as a young man and say, I want to start a business, people will take you as a joke. And so, as Craig said earlier, it's important to take yourself seriously. I'll remind you for this, what happened on the 16th of June, 1976. When South Africa and the apartheid government decided to impose Afrikaans as a language. In fact, they created a new law called the Bantu Education Act. And so it was to repress the Bantu languages and to enforce Afrikaans as a main language into schools. And so people had to deny who they are and what they speak to adopt a foreign language. And the language that was put in place by individuals that were oppressing another group of individuals. So when you look at that, you would assume that the adults were the one that were going to stand up. It was not adults that stood up. It was 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. So why am I saying this? So guys, if you guys could stood up 16, 15, 17 years old, could rise up in 1976, they can still do it. Potential is in them. They start a revolution right now. Unemployment is high. And people are still looking at adults in the McDonald's to create jobs. I'm saying, no, we got to flip that around. The youth can. Because over 50% of the African population is made of youth. In fact, 60% is youth.
Our average age is 19 years old.
19 years old. So why do we look at individuals that are much older to make a difference when the majority is us? Actually, you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are the majority. So if a revolution of job creation is going to start, it's going to be with the youth. And that's why we started Entrepreneur Leaders School, mainly for the youth. And what we've seen, the businesses that they're starting are mind-blowing. Job creation can happen. Africa can become a wealthy country when the youth decided to realize their potential and actually get and become entrepreneurs. I will give the same word of encouragement that I wish somebody had given me when I was young. And it's a saying by Barack Obama in 2008 when he ran for a campaign, and he said, yes, you can. And so we have to stop our entitlement mindset, thinking that we need to be handed something. The government owes us. Yeah, maybe they do. But you can't fail at your life and say it's because of someone else. And so it's important for your youth. When I started my journey, nobody handed me something. I had to fight for it. So that hunger that you have to make that dream, that thing happen, fight for it. Give it to yourself. Don't wait for somebody to hand it over to you. It's easier to invest in someone who's investing in themselves. So as long as you start taking the step towards making something happen, people will come alongside you. So don't be entitled.
Come on.
Believe in yourself. Work hard for yourself, and people will come alongside you. In fact, I'll finish with this saying by, I think, John Kennedy, if I'm not mistaken. It was Kennedy who said, "Do not ask your country what it can do for you. Ask yourself what you can do for your country."
Come on.
And yeah.